Welcome back to the interview set. I'm a big advocate of learning by playing with things, by having fun, rather than it just being a kind of a forced educational thing. So everything that I know about cars, I actually learned just from playing with Lego, and I'd like to share some of that knowledge with you right now. So I built a little model, which explains, I think, very well some of the main principles behind automobiles. So basically what you've got is you've got, well, of course, a gas tank, which I don't have on here. The gasoline gets mixed with air through the carburetor, it goes into the piston. And it's this explosion from the spark plug which combusts that air-fuel mixture. It pushes the piston down intermittently, and then that drives the entire car forward. That's a very basic internal combustion engine, right? And Lego makes these little parts. Obviously, it's not real combustion. And so you got the crankshaft right here, which goes to the drive shaft. And here's an interesting part. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little universal joint that I put in here. And if you look closely, you'll find these on real cars and automobiles, especially on big rigs, the 18-wheelers. You'll see these universal joints spinning away really fast down the highway underneath the entire machine, the whole truck, right? And what they're doing is they're sending power to the rear wheels. And they need to be able to function the way they do because the rear wheels are bouncing up and down. I have a bigger model here to show you. So here's a blown-up version of a universal joint. So you can see that I've got my hand is the motor here. And I'm turning this thing, but I can do it at whatever angle I like. And it still works perfectly fine. So if you've got something that's bouncing up and down, it works perfectly fine. It does not work past 90 degrees. It really, it's terrible. If you want to go 90 degrees, use 2 bevel gears or use 2 crown gears or something. So past 45 degrees, no good. But these are really useful, and you'll see them if you look for them. So after that, the power from the motor goes to the rear axle if it's a rear drive car, and it goes to a really, really cool piece called the differential, right? It goes to that piece, and what it does is it splits the power from the engine into 2 parts. You got 1 input and 2 outputs. So it'll actually travel down the path of least resistance, which happens to be both of them right now. But if I stop one of the wheels, the other wheel still turns. If I stop this wheel, the first wheel still turns, right? And every position in between. So if I'm going around a corner, it's a little low angle here, so you can't quite see. But this wheel is spinning more than that wheel, right? And it's able to do that using 1 source of power, because the power, you can only have 1 source unless you have 2 engines in your car, and nobody has 2 engines. And that's very basically how this all functions. You've also got the rack and pinion steering up here that I talked about earlier. So there you go. This is a little demonstration model for you. And differentials are so cool. I actually have a website that I named after them. And I haven't mentioned this yet, but there's a website you can go to that I set up for this event, legodifferential.com/FLL. Or if you don't feel like typing that in, you can go to tinyurl.com/LegoBCIT. That's a website I made to accompany this program. There's lots of links there for First Lego League, for building with Lego in general, and so on. Let me just show you this model. This is an automatic gearbox. This is not how they're actually made, but this is one thing that you can do with them. The differential, it sends power to the path of least resistance. So if you're sending power through here and you encounter resistance, it's going to go down another route, and that avenue is now switching the gears into a lower gear, and now it has enough power to overcome the force of my finger, preventing it from moving. I won't explain the complicated schematics of this thing. Needless to say, it gets a bit complicated, and you can add more differentials and get subtractors and adders and all sorts of crazy things. It just gets more complicated from here. That's all for now for the car-related stuff, and more robots coming up right now.